going to look at. So first of all, we need to understand that why does the weather and climate matter and why we need to study it? Because it tells us and helps us to decide what to wear, what to farm, how to build the houses, when to travel, and how we can prepare for the disaster, which also links to chapter 7, which is about disasters and hazards. So it helps us do all these things. So question number one is why we need to know this information. This is important so that we can design our lives efficiently and smoothly according to that. Food and water supply also helps us decide that when we should grow food and how much water resource we should have. Now, when we start this chapter, the very first thing that we need to know is what is the atmosphere, because everything is associated with atmosphere. So atmosphere is the blanket of the gases which is surrounding us. And I'm sure that you must have studied or read this division of the atmosphere in some stage of your life. So starting with this is the Earth. Imagine this is the layer where the Earth consists of. Then the very first layer over the Earth, about 5 to 10 kilometers high, is troposphere, where the weather usually happens. Then there is stratosphere, in which there is an ozone layer, mesosphere, where the meteor burns, and this is where the fluctuation of the temperature is. And then we go to the thermosphere, and temperatures start rising here because we are getting closer to the sun from this layer onward, thermosphere and then exosphere. And then we go to the space, which is the top of the atmosphere, exit of the atmosphere. So the troposphere is the lowest layer, which is about 0 kilometer means ground to 12 kilometers up, and this is where all the weather happens. Atmosphere is the blanket of air around the Earth. It is made of 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 1% other gases. Without it, we could not breathe, and temperature would be extreme. So this is the most important part. Now we need to understand what is weather, what is climate. So weather is the condition of the atmosphere at a particular place and time. Means when we see a day-to-day variation in the atmosphere, sometimes it's cloudy, sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's rainy. So this is the weather. So what weather includes? What are the things a weather should have? Temperature is the important point. For example, temperature can be hot, warm, mild, or cool. Humidity means the amount of water in the atmosphere, in the air. Humidity means there could be possibility of the rainfall, humidity, water vapors, in simple words. Then precipitation, condensed form of water, which leads to the rainfall. How much is that in any area? And then we have wind, which is the amount of air flowing in any area. Cloud cover includes the clouds. Sunshine, if there's sunlight, and air pressure. Air pressure is how much pressure is the air putting on the things on the ground. So these are the important factors that a weather include, or you can say the weather consists of following factors, following things. Then we have climate. Climate is the average condition in a region over a long period of time, usually at least 30 to 35 years. Then when we notice a certain kind of weather in any area for almost 30 to 35 years at least, then that is called a climate. So weather is, for example, if we are taking the example, weather is how your mood is today. It can be happy, sad, or tired. And climate is your personality that has become over a time. Cheerful, calm, serious, just like that. It depends on the any area. For example, if Punjab experiences a warm summer or hot summer for the past 50 years, then it has become its climate. We know that our winters are going to be cool and our summer is going to be hot. So this is what we know. For example, if we give in the perspective, example is taken in the perspective of the weather, then we can say it's raining in Karachi today, or this would be a weather that today it's raining and normally it is sunlight. But climate is Karachi as a hot desert climate with mild winters, mean very low winters and very hot, humid summers. So this would be the definition of the climate. Then, if we look at the comparison table of weather and climate to understand it more effectively, we can see the time period. Weather is day to day. and climate is 30 plus year data. Usually in average we take it to be considered it as the climate. How fast it changes. Weather can change in minutes. Climate changes very slowly. It takes it years to change. What it includes? It includes the current condition of any area. Climate includes the long-term pattern. For example, today is hot, and for climate, it would be this place has hot summers because we have seen the pattern for years now. Predictability. Forecast for 1 to 10 days would tell the weather of any area, and a climate is predictable pattern by season. We already know, we can see what's coming our way. Who studies it? A meteorologist. Meteorology is the study of the weather, and climatologists study the climate. So, for example, let's take the example of Pakistan. For example, weather today is 38 degrees sunny and 40% is the humidity there. Low chances of precipitation. But climate we have is arid to semi-arid. We have very hot summer, cool winters, and monsoon usually fall in July to September. That is something very predictable and we already know about it. So now there's a little activity that you can do because I will be sharing notes with you all. So you can go through it and try to find out the answers. It will help you better understand the difference. Moving on to part two. Now, the second thing that we need to know is atmospheric pressure and weather. What is the connection between atmospheric pressure, air pressure, and weather? Because these two things are directly linked to each other. What is air pressure? Atmospheric pressure is the weight of the air pressing down on the Earth's surface. Air might seem like nothing, but it has weight. A column of air from the ground to space weighs about 1 kg per square centimeter. That means that the air on your shoulder weighs as much as a car engine. But we are so used to it that we don't feel it that way. So the weight, the pressure that the air is putting on our body is called air pressure. For example, if we look at it through this mini visual, we can understand that as a person we stand on the ground, this is the earth's surface and this is the air moving. So the air particles that move along with the gases, dust and other water vapors, it has weight, it has pressure that it puts on us. That is called atmospheric pressure. So the thing is that how the air pressure works, that would be the first thing that we would like to understand. So step one is that sun heats the ground. So ground becomes hot. Now, when the ground becomes hot, the water vapors which were present on the ground, warm air rises them, air becomes warm and light. And then the air which rises up, warm air which rises in the sky, then it goes there, it condenses and do the rainfall or precipitation or forms the cloud. So this is how the air pressure works. So you can say that air pressure is the responsible factor behind all the weather, climate, and any other phenomena that we feel. So when air is heated, it becomes lighter, it rises, creates a low pressure area. So low pressure area then leads to the change in the weather that we usually see. So rainfall, storm, or clouds that we see on the sky are all because of a low pressure. Low pressure leads to the lousy weather, which leads to the changes in the normal conditions. So now let's have a look at it that how air pressure, first we looked at the how air pressure heating works. Now let's see how air pressure cooling works. So when the air highs up gets cold, the one which arises from the warm temperature, when it rises up, then air becomes heavy and cold there because there's low temperature. So when it goes there, now the low pressure changes to high pressure, and then the air sinks and come back to the ground. And that's why we feel a sudden change in the weather. So when air is cool, it becomes heavier, it sinks, creates a high pressure area. So high pressure is equal to happy weather, sunny, clear, and calm weather we usually experience. This is how the cycle of of the air we keep observing and which keeps the environment or which keeps the atmosphere stable. Now let's understand the difference between high pressure versus low pressure. Air movement is the first thing that we need to know. Air sinks when there's high pressure and air rises when there's low pressure. So first thing, temperature is cool air we feel when there's high pressure and low air. That's why on the mountains we have cool air. So low pressure we feel when there's warm air. Clouds are few or none in high pressure, and there are lots of cloud when there's low pressure in any area. We usually do not experience any kind of rain in high pressure, and we face a lot of rain and storms in the low pressure areas. Then wind, usually in high pressure area, it is light and gentle, and it is strong and gusty in the warm pressure areas. Weather is sunny, clear, and settled in the high pressure area, and it is stormy and unsettled in the low pressure area. We can usually call it a happy weather in high pressure area and lousy weather in the low pressure area. And barometer, which is the meter used to read the pressure, is almost above 1013 MB, which is a unit used by the barometer reading, which indicates the barometer thing. That indicates the high pressure, and it would be below 1013 barometer if the pressure is low. So, coming to how pressure system works, now we need to understand the both things, the air pressure heating and air pressure cooling, both side by side. So if we look at the ground, we see that whenever there's warm air rising, and because of high sunlight or the warm temperature or increased temperature, we feel the air rises. And when the air rises, wind blow from the area of high pressure to low pressure. Mean cool air comes there to maintain the temperature of that area. And when it happens, everything becomes stable, and then the high pressure cool air comes back to the ground. That's how the weather is normalized. The next is when you blow up a